Welcome back to Streamline messages, people. And thank you to all the Streamliners for sending them in. Lindsay said, hi, Marvin, great content. Thank you very much indeed. Lindsay, have a great day and thank you for being a full member. Squiggles, full member, says, thanks again for covering this case. Time is flying by too fast for this case. I've sent you an email as well, Marvin. Yeah, thank you very much. I will get round to read that, sweetheart. And appreciate your support. MySpace Tube says, why has the information been forgotten? Question mark. The Tom Hilton X appearance at the same time Jay was in Tenerife, and the picture of the bound body outside the car she'd been driving when Tom Hilton put it up on his socials and quickly removed it. I found that really, really bizarre. Yeah, definitely MySpace Tube. I tell you what, it was a really weird picture. I'm not too sure whether that was Jay or not, but like I said, he definitely looked like he was depicting something which was really, really strange. It was one of those pictures within a picture, when you look closely, it definitely looked like maybe someone bound and gagged. It was really, really strange and tied up. Thank you for that. Tekka Kid says, could anyone help, please? I followed Duncan from day one on the case, but I'm getting notification as he's changed his channel. Oh, I did obviously reply to that. He's on Duncan 2 now, but you will find him. A lot of people have put his actually stuff up. Let me just check again. 1 second, people. Just make sure we've got the right channel for Duncan. Yeah, Duncan Smith 2. That's the one, mate. So keep following there, Duncan Smith 2. Thank you. Fabio, hello, greetings from Italy. I hope you're well there, Fabio. Annette says, hi, Marv, hi, guys. Hi, Annette. Hope you're well, sweetheart. Thank you for following me. And if only the poor family, I hope they find some answers. So sad. It really is on Miss and Jack O'Sullivan, Hannah, because like I said, there's no leads. There's nothing to go on. And like I said, I always find it strange when friends don't talk or come out and just say, look, this is what happened, or at least one of them who was there with him, because he knew a couple of them that he actually went to the party with, but he didn't actually know the people at the party. He was just meeting them through a friend of a friend. I might have another good video with more interesting questions and thoughts, etc., which the authorities would say enough is enough and get to the bottom of it. But Jay, thanks, Marvin. Yeah, and also, Dawn, thank you very much for that. And like I said, we want Jay's Law to be helping young people as well if this comes to fruition. But I would definitely want these people questioned, because like I said, I think there's enough there for basically the family, if they ever thought about it, to actually go legal. But I just don't think that will really, really happen. No, I don't. Marvin Caroline says, thank you for sharing. I wouldn't mind listening to more of that. I found it interesting. Yeah, I will, Caroline. I'll do another one over the weekend in what I did find out when I was much older on basically Jehovah's Witnesses. It's interesting. I know there's a few Jehovah's Witnesses on here. It's just my viewpoint on it and what I've heard and what's in writing as well. Thanks, Marvin. This is such a mysterious case also. I always think of him and his poor family. I always thought a dodgy taxi driver or a hit and run, but the driver took him to cover it up. That's a possibility. That's a massive, massive possibility. I truly believe, I mean, this case is puzzling because nothing of his was found. Not a dicky bird. I mean, if his watch had been found or phone, you could say, like, maybe he was taken, or the police realised someone else had his phone and was playing with it. Do you know what I mean? It's just really, really strange. It is. Who's says, hard to believe CP and Lucky volunteered to help after seeing their behaviour afterwards. I do wonder if MW did notify police of his recordings. He probably wanted to do his own documentary. Funny how I have deleted all posts and got a solicitor before the inquest, since all his posts were poking fun at the case. Yeah, he was, but like I said, when it get real, then he got a solicitor involved, because I don't think he'd feel confident. And I think his lawyer or a legal representative told him what to say. especially when he was obviously talking to the court on video link. Serendipity says, were the narratives that Jay had knives on him fake narratives when really Jay had been injured by a knife? Say a femur artery injury, it's covering their own backs. Just a strange thing to say, especially saying Jay wore jeans and that he was wearing shorts. Yeah, Serendipity, that's a really, really good point. And cut by a cactus as well in the leg, which would make sense to us that something did happen to him on the beach, and that was technically seen as the cactus wound brought up by the friends. And it also coincides with what Lisi said, I didn't think you would stab him, or something along those lines. Oh, what if the boat was involved in taking Tom back to Magdaluf? Amanda, that's a really, really massive point, and that is something that I've discussed in my videos. It's a massive one. There's a massive possibility. It's a long. People say it's a long way, but there's a massive possibility that that could be done. We're not writing it off. Thank you, Amanda. He said, "Hey Marvin, I get you. You can pay off corrupt Spanish police, but to pay off UK coroners are effectively UK government ain't happening. They don't need the money. That tells you much bigger powers at play. Club, for want of a better word." Yeah, I agree. I agree. Especially we heard that Roman Ian was involved in the club scene as well, and owned quite a few properties as well. And he's still in with a lot of the mayors as well in dodgy business, which is really, really strange. I believe there was a watch stolen, but allegedly a fake one. Joe, it's a very, very strange one, to be honest with you. A very, 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 very strange one. And I don't know if there was I know that we know that basically Rocky likes his watch, Abe likes his watches, Jonathan likes his watches, PP likes his watches. But like I said, if it was, I think it was to do with them and their small cronies that do things for them. If they did see someone that was that was basically quite mangled in the club, and a watch could be stolen easy. At the end of the day, this guy was out of it, didn't realise what was happening, and someone slipped it off his hand. That is possible because there are criminals who actually are out there to steal watches as well. I wouldn't put it surprise me in that scenario, but I don't think that had anything to do with Jay, to be honest with you. Hi from Brazil. Hello there. Sharon Carr says, six monsters. Jay's law should be exactly what you said. Nothing about content creators nor anyone who want to cover the case. All about safety to other teens and young adults and risks and dangers. I, for one as well, as many others, will not hear nor sign to Jay's law when they do this again. No, I don't think a lot of people will, because like I said, it's, I think, affecting what you say, your freedom of speech. And all we've tried to do as human beings is try to help others and work out what happened here, because there's so many lies and things that doesn't add up. We've had experts look at this case, who analyse what people say in their statements. Basically, like Peter, for instance, who sadly passed away earlier on this year. And even he said there are things that are seriously wrong with this case and what people are saying. And he did say as well that it seems like people want to distance themselves. When I think when the funeral was over, a lot of people had distanced themselves. And I don't think they really told Debbie everything. Never was a watch involved. That was the AG setting, ill reasons to make him disappear. Ain't rocket science. John Smith, I agree. I don't think personally, if you let me push, I don't think personally a watch was actually involved, to be honest with you. Not concerning Jay anyway. Richard, Christmas is usually commercial, like other holidays. Related activities. My mum would take me out and we'd do something nice, or she made me a lovely lunch. and I'd get to have the rest of the day off, which was great for me. And I hated school with a passion, lol. But witness children don't miss out, as some think they do. If anyone wants to do a party or get together, they can at any time, just not specifically at Christmas. It's also the same with gift giving. Growing up, I still got presents at other times. Yeah, so did we. But it was, I find it weird because we weren't born into the truth, and we'd basically, technically, stopped celebrating Christmas, I think, after 9, when I was after 9 or 10. Why? Why wait for a specific time of the year to give someone a gift? You can do that anytime, and when it's not expected, I think that feels much nicer. Well, I think it's each to his own. But like I said, I think people have gotten to tradition of celebrating Christmas. It's that time of year, and technically, most of the whole world celebrates that day. One thing we do celebrate or commemorate is the memorial of Christ's death, which is instructed he followers to observe in scriptures. You say, keep doing this in remembrance. So at the precise time of the year, we do this at a special meeting. You may be familiar with the Last Supper and its common referred to. We remember that this means, and the significance is of for mankind. Jesus never told us to celebrate his birth, and that's why day isn't actually specified in the Bible. Being a witness, it is an education. You never stop learning about things, and it's really opens your eyes. We know there are fantastic hope for the future, and this world, with all of its hatred, violence, selfishness, oppression, and injustice, will not continue indefinitely. Something far better is coming very soon. We desperately need peace and to live without fear. Even the environment and the animals need that too. The Bible offers the only real hope for us. Take care. Well said, Rachel. Obviously, you've got very, very strong beliefs there, but Yvonne says, Rachel, read up about bridesmaids. Lol. Yeah, interesting. If you are studying with the witnesses, you are not learning to study in the Word of God. You are undergoing watchtower indoctrinations. Look, I mean, I'm one of these. Everyone has got his own beliefs, but I've got to be honest and talk about the holes in my experience going at the end of the day. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are very, very passionate about the religion and what and what they do. But I want to get into the how it started, the Jehovah's Witness and their beliefs as well. And some of it can get pretty dark as well. But like I said, it has to be explained from each point of everybody's different points of view. If you are one, you're going to defend it strongly. If you're not one, you're going to basically look at why people come out of the truth, why they get to fellowship, and why they have mental health problems or struggle to basically adapt to a normal world, should I say, where they're not a Jehovah's Witness, if that makes sense. But we'll look at that a bit later. If you're studying with the witnesses, you will learn and studying the Word of God. You will understand the Watchtower doctrinations. The good news is that Christ has set you free from religious superstition. So let us know and judge you in food or in drink or regarding festivals or new moon or Sabbath. Bible systems. This includes birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Halloween, Independence, and all of the festive food and drinks that accompany freedom in Christ. Bondage is the false teaching from the Watchtower. I mean, people are going pretty deep on this. Many religions, not all, are toxic, controlling, and hypocritical, says Robin Kish. Hi, I don't know if the comment is meant to be related to witnesses or not, but we do not have priests at all. Neither male or female. Behaviour you mentioned is not something we would condone or would tolerate. An action would be taken if it happened within the congregation. What you have mentioned is totally against what the Bible actually teaches and would be a direct opposition to God's standards and the standards we try to live by. Anyone acting in such a way cannot claim to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses because their behaviour proves opposite. Rachel Burrow, hi, no connection at all with JW, says Madeline Post. Thank you for a comment. I did wonder. Of course, sorry that I didn't express clearly. I'm not English. always throwing curveballs. Nothing to hear. Yeah, I agree. That is about magic. Mike's. Rachel Chadwick says, something went on with the watch. I think there was a fight, but how did Saul know that? Question mark. According to him, in fact, why did he believe when the family are adamant he didn't steal a watch? Also, Abe is on that live saying in the early days, there were the guys who started going like, I had done him, etc. So Abe was being accused. Interesting stuff. Yeah, interesting stuff. But like I said, I think there could be more than this to meet the eye. But, you know, Saul could have been just told that by one of his other friends, which could be untrue, to be honest with you. I don't know. But like I said, I don't think that watch stolen was anything to do with Jay and what happened to him. I really don't. Pinky Pip says, thank you for that, Rachel. I think it was very sad if people are saying things like Debbie only cares about money. She had lost her son, and it's really awful if she had been coaxed into way of doing things. So that is important points that are forgotten. I don't know who had been advising Debbie from the offset, but perhaps she had been given poor advice given that her only real communication was via the GoFundMe page. In my opinion, this is not solely about money related. Something is being wanted to be quiet and for the family to go along with. I would assume they could perhaps be very frightened of trying to protect their son's reputation and memory. Yeah, I agree, Pinky Puff. I don't think it was about money at first for her, but I do now. I have to admit that I'm not being nasty or horrible, but I do think it's about money now, and this is why she's appearing on all these news articles and shows, to be honest with you. But I don't think it was originally like that. And like I said, if she does well with the money and moves away and lives happily ever after, I'm for that, to be honest with you. But like I said, that is my viewpoint, because like I said, I think originally she was happy that we were coming out, but now this case has been deemed as an accident. She's not so happy. Do you know what I mean? Because we've obviously had Warren coming out in the past saying to Wax, keep going, and we like your work, but that's all finished now. Do you know what I mean? And fear as well. Squiggle says, I can imagine it is very difficult for some to discuss and every possibility, because after all, we don't know the truth 100%. Like the police generally do, they look to the closest of the deceased to thoroughly question them, covering everything and in the case. The creators aren't police, but the police have hugely neglected their duty. And I cannot recall one instance when they claim Debbie used the motive about the GoFundMe as being fact, but rather some have raised some questions, including everything else involved in the case. So it would be natural to do so the questions everyone's motive with so many questions and inconsistencies. There are a few who have commented in channels where this suspicious can come off as a fact, and yes, sometimes insensitive, but the latter I've only seen very few myself, to be honest. I've noticed too that AG, the trolls and the bullies are jumping on this, an excuse to be abusive to the followers and creators to make their motive. All of this appears pure. I've seen a few people change from suspicions of Jay's death or claiming fact as an accident, disregarding completely that Jay may well have been pushed also. Yeah, Squiggles, really, really good points, and you're very, very well balanced in what you say there. I agree with you at the end of the day. I think there's a lot more people involved from top to bottom in this case. And I think a lot of it, why Debbie wants this closed down, is because of threats. And she's been sometimes forced to do it and to protect her other son as well. I do think that, and a lot of pressure from the other side. Pinky Pips, yes, I agree. I do wonder sometimes if AG are deliberately saying nasty things or also trolling the family to try to shut things down or prove their point of how vile and evil the public are. And we're not. We just feel that, good point, Pinky Pub, but we just feel that we are not being told the whole story, and I feel uncomfortable. I totally agree. It feels like they are trying to paint creators as trolls, which fits perfectly with Debbie's aim in the documentary to silence them. Ironically, They're the ones acting like trolls. I've noticed a big shift too. People were once suspicious about the case, now it seemed to be completely AG assisting. There's no possibility Jay was pushed. Because the case has emotionally affected so many, especially parents, I wonder if AG been using their empathy to steer people's emotion. Also turning one genuine creator into voices defending Debbie and attacking anyone who digs deeper into the players involved or paid. We just don't know, to be honest with you. What we do know is, like I said, they don't want the truth actually coming out. Great point, Squiggles. Ingrid says, are Jehovah's Witnesses from receiving life-saving treatment if it was receiving blood? For me, if any of my family members needed blood from me, I'd be straight to the theatre without a second thought. Me too. The main reason we abstain from blood in any form is because it's a scriptural command to do so. We don't oppose surgery or treatment, but for the best, most important, the safest available treatment. Bloodless surgery is available to everyone, and many surgeons performing, and it helps them to advance their knowledge and hands and skills. We have a hospital liaison committee, HLC, who work very closely with various hospitals and doctors who expressed interest in this. Also, we've donated many cell salvage machines for many types of surgical procedures to enable bloodless surgery. My dad used one of them several years ago. It used your own blood, cleans it, and it then goes back into your body. It never stops but works continuously. Medical staff have praised it highly because it uses one own's blood to prevent a body often coping with shock or another blood, which must be your blood type, but the body will view it as a foreign object. Bloodless surgery done this way also can reduce recovery time. Blood loss can be helped by expanding the volume blood, even if it thins down, and most importantly, to raise the volume. Numerous solutions are used for this that have been proven to be much safer than transfusing another individual blood into you. All things considered, a real good and thing, and like I said, available to anyone. Some really good points there, Rachel. Yes, Matt Murdoch says yes. The God they serve requires blood sacrifice. It's a death cult. Alan says, funny remember Rachel saying Warren doesn't want to start as we have things on him. The Warren stopped posting. Debbie sold Jade's memory for money, and she knows it was murder. That's why she's trying to stop the creators. Keep going. Alan, do you know what? I think a lot of people are thinking it but not saying it, to be honest with you. That's a very, very good point. And to be honest, I'm thinking that way as well. I know it sounds terrible, but I'm just going with the flow. It was said earlier on, and those basically people who said it earlier on, that it's concern money. I think people could sell them souls for money. Yes, it was deeply sad when Debbie was actually talking about it. But like I said, I think there's a little bit more now than this to meet the eye. And Alan, that's a really good point. Yeah, remember that Casly, the voice note from Rachel, remember, right? There's something that I haven't really thought about with what you said about Warren. It does suggest that something is wrong here, doesn't it? Yeah, the way he switched off, Squiggles, I agree. Alan, that was a brilliant message. Savra says, hi, Marvin. One thing I've never understood, why did Jay go up high? He was trying to get down to the beach. Surely, if you were going down the beach, you stick to the lowest route pass. Made no sense in climbing somewhere high enough for a dangerous fall. And that's why I don't think he was ever there. Mike J says his death is totally questionable. I agree. Stanley says, oh, sorry, I think I read this. Cults are easily to identify two separate facts. For example, they use coercive control. They have the authoritarian, self-appointed, often geared towards violence, use isolation tactics like living in hidden communes, and don't mix at all with the outside world. Both Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to mix with people. They can talk their religion to people, but they're not actually allowed to go out with non-Jehovah's Witnesses and mix with them. So it's the same sort of thing. Think about Jim Jones, Charles Manson, David Grush, to name a few. The Jehovah's Witnesses are absolutely not in accord. We do not adhere to endorse any of the above examples. We are ordinary, peaceful, law-abiding citizens Not all perfect. Nobody is. We work to support ourselves and our families. We have many of the struggles and lots of health issues, financial problems, and job stabilities, worries, daily stresses, etc. But endeavour to try to follow Christ's teaching in difficult and very harsh world. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, you're not allowed to. You can go to work and obviously talk to people and liaise with people because that's your work. When it comes to like events like birthday parties, Christmas, or generally going out as a work together, get together, you can't go. You can't go because that person is not a Jehovah's Witness. So, but how do you know who's good and who's bad? Basically, that's what we were brought up at the end of the day. I remember my mum saying to me, they're non Jehovah's Witness. Basically, technically, they're bad. You can't move with them. It's just simple as that. This is what I was told. Because, like I said, they aren't practicing Jehovah's Witnesses, so you can't mix with them. So, obviously, the elders, the congregation laws are saying you cannot mix with those people because they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. But you can talk to them at work. But after work, when it comes to like, oh, you're coming for a drink, you cannot go. And this was a factor why I left because, like I said, there were many good people in my life and still are these people, which I think, no, they can't all be bad. But that is what I was taught, that non-Jehovah's Witness, technically, you can obviously work with them, but when it comes to them inviting you out, you're mixing, basically, you're mixing with them is not a part of the religion. And you could be basically told off for that, or even if it keeps going on, basically you could be defellowshipped. So it is about control. Stanley says JW's masters at using coercive control, holding control, holding the threat of removing you and losing all friends and family have devastated days. But it takes some humanity to recognize these things. Yeah, Stanley, you're right, because like I said, you feel isolated because like most of my family were Jehovah's Witness on my mum's side, but on my dad's side, they wasn't. But like I said, I got lucky because, like I said, I eventually moved out, even though I was basically sort of living with my girlfriend a couple of days, then going home. But when I was 17, I actually moved out into my girlfriend's at the time with her parents, basically a mum and a mum's boyfriend. And it just changed my whole life. And I just started to sort of live the life I wanted to live as a teen. Do you know what I mean? The Watchtower fixed point model for a cult. In fact, it's one of the cults mentioned in many books, but we don't need secularism to tell us what. All we need is scripture. None of the teachings from the Watchtower can be found in scriptures. No, nor the creature, God, Jehovah. In the kingdom of YHWH, Jehovah's God is an interloper, false God. Well, look, one thing I do know, but I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper over the weekend. It's a man-made religion. And that, all those, basically how it was made, all those sort of, those points are there. You can read them up yourself. And it's also been a massive topic of conversation over the last 10 years. But like I said, I'm not here to basically screw over a lot of religions or talk bad about them, but I'm just talking about my experience and what I've found out. And then people can obviously elaborate on it, to be honest with you. I'm having my own thoughts. Won't say it. I'm not starting any conspiracy, but Rachel saying Warren will know when he has needs to, won't leave my head. So in my head, Rachel, Brad, and Debbie knew, and Warren was sold. And that's when Warren done a U-turn and went with an accident. Very, very sus. Yeah, yeah, Lindsay, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think that concerns some money. I really do. I'm not buying it. So in the 29 days, not one of I could see Jay and took the route near or looked down to when he was supposedly was. Yeah, Lindsay, I agree. I totally agree that it's incredible. Even his mum and dad said it was incredible. No other independent witnesses, apart from the people involved in this case, saw him. That is really, really bizarre. That is one of the most craziest things I've ever heard. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Eyewitness on my, hello mate, how you doing? Nothing. That guy looks worse for it. No one reported to the police or someone saw anything funny. Or did they? And the police didn't let it out. I just doubt it. I really don't, because I don't think he was there at that time. Hi Marvin, according to the video that NWC said that there were no knives missing from the Airbnb. He didn't have a top on, and so how could he have knives? Total BS lies. I agree. But like I said, do you know what, Izzy? I think that MWT probably got that from Lucy or one of Lucy's friends or someone close to the case, and then realised it was lies, but thought in the early days he would put it out because it was information. Definitely conflicting. Thank you, Izzy. Lindsay says, Saz, definitely. Animals or the parent involved in these two cases. All parents, sorry, involved in these two cases. Weird goings on. Yeah, I agree, but the strangest thing I get from this case is that somebody close to the family knows a lot more. I do think we'll get the truth, but I don't know when, people. Lindsay says the girl needs specialist help. That is obviously Julia Wandelt, saying that she's Maddie. But like I said, I never ever thought she was Maddie, but like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if basically she was related in a different way, if that makes sense. Sluggy and CP are the gruesome twosome and full of BS. Korea, brilliant. And for me, if these two who are manipulating Debbie, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of pressure. Hi Marvin, I've been one of Jehovah's Witnesses all my life. Yeah, I got that. Today is the day of salvation. Come to Christ, Matt Murdoch. So lots of different messages. And like I said, I will do another video on the Jehovah's Witnesses. We've got more to talk about on the Jade Slater case as well. So there's a lot more to come. Rachel Burrow, thank you very much for your points. I'm not obviously not one to argument, but I just am making my points on it. At the end of the day, I will read some private messages. But thank you for your points and obviously your beliefs in what you believe in, because I know you're obviously a strong believer and you respect what you do. I respect that, but like I said, I'm going to get my points across and put them out there on my feelings. I think you've got to be honest and transparent. Lindsay, pick the member. Thank you very much. Izzy Stevenson, Lindsay, great messages. Stanley, like your points. Rachel Burrow, Stavros Squiggles. Alan, thank you very much. Matt, Rachel, Ingrid Locke, Squiggles, brilliant. Pinky Pup, Rachel Chadwick. Oh, I didn't read these. It is apparent that Abe knew the guy who accused him of stealing the watch, as he was able to contact him to say it wasn't him who nicked it. He certainly knows a lot of people there, doesn't he? Yeah, of course. Yes, Abe's very connected to people on the island. I must have known that person who called him, as they had his number. But like everything else, we only have his word of what happened. And he's not trustworthy. Michelle, Rachel, brilliant message. Thank you, Rachel. Joy Wing, lovely to hear from you. Pinky Pub, brilliant messages as usual. Very deep. Madeline Post, Rachel Burrow. Rob Kinshers, Madeline Post. Matt Murdoch, Rachel, Ellie. Cal, thank you very much. Devlin, thank you. Inspirational quotes. John Smith, Sharon Carr, Lindsay, Inner Bloom, Joe Jones, Lee Petterson, Ian Jarvie. Thank you very much indeed. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment. More coming on Jay Slater and also more coming. Oh, Serendipity. Thank you very much. Huzu, brilliant messages. Lindsay again, Caroline, Izzy, brilliant. Dawn Williamson, love to hear from you. Hannah, Net, Fabio, Tech the Kid, I like that one. MySpace Tube, good to hear from you. Squiggles, brilliant messages, and Lindsay, thank you both for being full members. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment, much more to come. and private messages as well. Thank you.